Hi, guys. It's Dr. Liz Jenkins with drlizcoaching.com, and welcome. Welcome to day 6 of Inside Couples Conflict. And today I'm going to talk about the 5 main conflict styles that we typically see in couples conflict and really in conflict in general. Okay. And so I'm going to talk kind of give you a broad overview. And then in the following days, we're going to do a deep dive into what each of those conflict styles look like, sound like, feel like. So you can start identifying which ones maybe are inside your relationship, your marriage, which ones that you tend to lead with in a conflict, or your spouse or partner. What do they lead with? And then how do we fix it? How do we change it up? Because it's really quite simple once you understand how you're showing up and better strategies for showing up. So in those 5 key styles or conflict styles. The first one is what it's called criticism or judging. This is the one where you hold strong negative feelings, thoughts, actions about whatever it is. And so it comes across very judgy, very critical. Comments are pretty snarky, and they can kind of do no right. And there isn't anything but your way. All right. So think about that one. The second one is defensiveness or explaining. And this one, folks don't realize that they're actually being defensive. What we tend to do is we tend to explain the situation or explain our position or the reasons why. And what we don't realize is that this conflict strategy actually is like gasoline on a fire. It's an accelerant, and it actually makes these conflicts worse really fast. I mean, it can go from I'm just explaining myself the boom, level red. Okay. And we don't really realize it. And it comes out, and we feel like oftentimes people feel like they're victim or they're not being heard properly because I was just trying to explain myself. So understand, if you tend to fall in the defensive slash explaining, because that's really how it starts to show up, that without realizing it, you are doing more harm to the conflict conversation than good. So don't worry. I'm going to show you how to interrupt that, change that up. The third one is probably the deadliest, and it also the most sort of invisible. It's contempt and disregard for the other person, and it is nonverbal. Predominantly, it comes across in our body movements, our facial expressions, the rolling eyes, the snarly on the lip. It's the sighing, it's the huffing, crossing our arms, looking away type of thing. And so, in this disregard for your partner or your spouse's feelings, their perspective on the conversation, on the conflict, we come across pretty darn snarky. And the other thing is that we tend to not even be aware of how we are showing up visually. So, again, we're going to fix that. We're going to fix that. The two of you can fix that. The last two, I call fire and ice. So, we're going to talk about fire first. This is a style of how people ignite. They come on fast, loud, with a hot escalation, kind of out of nowhere. Boom! Their voice is elevated. The words per moment are going fast, and it's really feeling like an attack or an overwhelm. Right? The fifth one is what I call ice or frozen. It's People talk about feeling like tingly and numb and shutting down and overloaded and flooded. And it can look very much like this person doesn't care, or that they're checked out, or sometimes people actually physically leave during this ice period because the overwhelm and the flooding is so intense. That's how they manage themselves. And so fire and ice are based off of a physiological response, that old fight, flight, or freeze. And we're going to talk about how we have these full body engagements that have our heart rate up, our respiration, our breathing is up. And as we're doing that, the thinking logical part of our brain is shutting down, and our body is doing what it's designed to do, is taking us back into the more primitive part that helps us escape danger through the fight, flight, or freeze. Well, that's great when there's a dinosaur and we need to get away, or we need to, be very, very quiet and not let the dinosaur, eat us, as maybe some of our previous ancestors might have. But it doesn't do well in a relationship or marital conflict. So, again, we're going to talk about, help you start thinking about, are you a fire person? Are you an ice person? How are both of you showing up so we can get a hold and harness that physiological response and give you some strategies so you can show up with your brain working, not reacting, okay? And not saying things that are snarky or disregarding or whatever. So, all right. So there's five key barriers. There's the criticism, the judging, right? We have the defensiveness, or explaining ourselves. We have the contempt or the disregard. There you go again. Okay, that is contempt, disregard, snarky stuff. Or fire with a fast escalation. Or the ice where you're freezing and you're overloaded and you're withdrawn and you're shut down right there. And you're not ignoring the person, you just can't deal with it. So, homework. Start thinking about your last or the last few conflicts and which of these or all of these are showing up on your part. Which of these maybe you feel your partner or your spouse is showing up with, all right? Okay. Some people come loaded with all, some couples have a few. It's okay. All right. Because over the next few days, we're going to identify and work through some strategies so these can go away or be minimized. And so you can have conflict conversations instead of big blowout fights that leave everybody regretting and hurting and distancing. Take care. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.